All right, this is Precalculus chapter 10, lesson 2 review. All right, so I'm on page 684. I'm gonna work 14, 16, and 18. So I'm gonna draw my triangle, and 14 says A is 5, C is 2.5, and angle C is 30 degrees. All right, because I have angle side side, that's the ambiguous case, right? It's the ambiguous case, but I always use the opposite side, so it's the sine of 30 degrees over its side equals the sine of A over its side. I'm going to cross multiply. 5 times the sine of 30 degrees equals 2.5 times the sine of A, dividing by 2.5 on both sides. So now I'm going to do inverse sine. I'm going to do inverse sine of this ratio. I'll show you my calculator. Shift sine. Well, I'll go ahead and solve for this. So we have the sine of A equals, just to do it in right steps, 5 times the sine of 30. I'm going to hit the equal sign, then I'm going to divide by 2.5. Wow, the sine of A is 1. All right, so you know where the sine is 1. Remember, it goes up, it's at pi over 2, which is a 90-degree angle. So this is a right triangle. Okay, I'm just checking my answer because this is kind of crazy, but yes, angle A is 90 degrees. Okay, that really happens. So it's a 30, 60, 90. And so so angle A is 90 degrees. Well, now I can just use, to get to here. I really could do the law of sines, but I don't need to because I know the Pythagorean triplet, 1 square root of 3, 2. So I just multiply 2.5 by square root of 3 and get to that. Okay, so because it's 90 degrees, I know that that's the only option. All right, let's look at 16. With 16, on that same page, all right, so A is 3.8, C is 2.8, and C is 41 degrees. All right, I'm still going to be solving for angle A. So the sine of A over 3.8 equals the sine of 41 degrees over 2.8. Let me let my dog out. Come on, Bish. Come on. What do you want? He doesn't want out. Okay, I'm going to just keep going. Cross multiply. 2.8 times the sine of A equals 3.8 times the sine of 41. Divide both sides by 2.8. So we have the sine of A. I'm just going to do this in my calculator. So I'm going to do 3.8 times the sine of 41. I'm going to hit equals, then I'm going to divide by 2.8. So it's 0.89. Now I'll do inverse sine to solve for, I'm just going to pop that answer in. So A is 62.9. All right, so now is when I decide, are there two options? So I take 180 minus 62.9. So 180 minus 62.9. And that equals 117.1. I look at this angle and I look at the 41 degree, the other angle that's given. when I add these together, it equals 158.1. It doesn't exceed 180 degrees. So there are two options. Either angle A is 117.1 degrees, and therefore B is, I'm going to subtract 180 from, I'm going to do 180 minus 117 minus 41 degrees, and B is 21.9 degrees. Or if angle A is 62.9 degrees, I'm going to do 180 minus 62.9, and I'm going to subtract the 41 degrees. And so if A is 62.9, then B is 76.1. So there's two options. How do we know there's two options? Because when I take 180, well, number one, I begin with an acute angle. The given one is acute. And then I take 180 minus what I saw for A. And the value that I get when I add it to the one that's given is less than 180. So there's still enough degrees left for a third angle. All right. So now I have to calculate the sides based on the side B. See, we don't have the side B. So I'm always going to go back to what's given. The sine of 41 degrees over 2.8. Now, let's suppose B is 76.1. So I'm going to do the sine of 76.1 over side B. And this will be the length of B given this angle. So I do B, sine of 41 degrees equals 2.8, sine of 76.1. And I divide by sine of 41 on both sides. That's the value of B. I'm going to do 2.8 times the sine, 2.8 times the sine of 76.1. I'm going to hit equals. Then I'm going to divide that by the sine of 41 and hit equals. So B is 4.14. When the angle is 76, that's the length of B. Now I'm going to use 21.9. So I'm still going to use this piece, the sine of 41 degrees over 2.8. But now for B, I'm going to use the sine of 21.9. And I don't know the length of its side. So cross multiplying, this is B times the sine of 41 degrees equals 2.8 times the sine of 21.9. I divide by the sine of 41. And B is 2.8 times the sine of 21.9. So 2.8 times the sine of 21.9. I'm going to hit equals. Then I'm going to divide by the sine of 41. So B is 1.59. All right. So when this angle is given, when I have side angle, remember, bad word spelled backwards, there are three possibilities. If this angle is acute, either I have none, I have one, or I have two solutions. I've shown you one. That was the previous example, number 14, I believe. 16 is two options. Now let's look at 18. Okay, drawing a triangle again. It just helps me to see it. All right, so A is 67 degrees. Side C is 125. A is 100. I have side angle. All right, so either I have none, and that's acute. So I have none, one, or two. It's the ambiguous case. All right, first, I I have to solve for is C, the side opposite, which is not side opposite, the angle opposite that side, all right? So the sine of C over its corresponding side has to equal the sine of A over its corresponding side. Again, just cross multiplying. And dividing by 100. I'm left with the sine of C. I'm going to calculate this in my calculator. Do 125 times the sine of 67. Sine of 67. I'm going to hit equals. Then I'm going to divide by 100. And the answer is 1.15. Well, I know there are no solutions. How do I know? The ratio will never be greater than 1 or less than -1. All right?